Welcome back to Andersen Acres. It's a bit of a snowy day outside, but it's not overly cold. And when I say it's not overly cold, it's still Canada. It's still December. So it is quite cold. But we said we'd come inside and talk about housing your rabbits indoors, and that's what we're doing. Gemini's back there in the corner. You can see her. I've got my light on, which is why her eyes are glowing. She's really not that creepy. I promise she's not that creepy. So, housing rabbits indoors. Just so everyone understands, this is not a cage. This is an X pen, okay, that's blocking off. See, it stops here. This is an X pen blocking off in there because that's where the garbage can and a bunch of cords and stuff I don't want her to chew is. And then on this side, we have more of the X pen. In there is stuff I don't want her to chew, so we have an X pen. And the X pen carries around protecting my desk. My desk is up there, and I don't want her on my desk because she's horrible and eats cords. Because she's a rabbit. Okay? So she's not actually in an enclosure. You can certainly put your rabbit in an enclosure. That's not that big a deal. But we do have to talk about space. So yesterday's video was all about how I deal with my rabbits outside, and you noticed my rabbits outside have quite a bit of space. They, one, have large pens, and two, they get to free range. Depending on whose day it is, they actually get to go out and run around in a much larger area. Hi, sweetie. All right, so that's how we house them outside. Inside is a bit of a different story. Now, you might see behind her there's a bunch of fluff against that wall. That's because she's a terrible bunny. Yeah, there's nothing in that cage. That cage is holding supplies. That is where we potty train new baby bunnies that are staying in the house. Okay? We don't use that cage. I really do not approve of keeping rabbits in small cages. You notice she doesn't really have a cage. She's under a table because she likes to have, that's her little hidey hole area back there. She's got her litter box, her food and water are over here. There's actually hay in that Pepsi box. She's been slowly chewing that Pepsi box apart. A great way to feed your indoor bunnies hay, by the way, is to get a cardboard box and then just cut pieces of it out and shove hay in there. They love that. And she's not creepy, I promise. It's just her. I have the light on. Because if I turn the light off, you can't even see. See? You can't even see her. So I'm turning the light back on. You can't even see her. But she's not as creepy as she looks. It's just she's over there and the light is shining on her and she's casting a weird shadow and her eyes are glowing. She's not that creepy. Anyway, housing rabbits indoors. A little bit different. One, you don't really have to protect them from the weather. You see, she's got this little hidey hole area. She's behind her box right now. You can see her butt. But she doesn't have to have an actual place to get out of the wind because we're in the house. So there's less of a concern about that. There is more of a concern about space. Frankly, when you're outside, it is way easier to give them more space. Our outside bunnies have kennels that are 8 by 8. Okay, they're huge kennels. Even our smallest kennel is 8 by 4. So they're huge spaces, and we let them out to run in an area that's about 25 feet by 25. They're big, okay? So our areas are big for the bunnies outside. The problem with an indoor rabbit is it's really tempting to lock them up in a little cage and only give them attention when you want to give them attention. But that's no life for a bunny. That is no life for a bunny, especially a bunny that I love as much as Gemini. She's my baby. She sleeps on my bed. I know, but she's litter trained. That's why she has a litter box. Hi, sweetie. Are you going to come up? Are you going to come play? No, you're going to go in your box because there's hay in there. She's like, this is my box. That's your box? Okay. She loves her box. Anyway, so one of the main concerns when you're indoors is giving them enough space. A little tiny rabbit cage like this does not make an appropriate home. Even though Gemini's small, she's only 2 pounds. So she's little. That is still too small a cage for her. Even though it is 4 feet long, it's still too small. Okay? Far too small. You're crazy, baby. Yeah, if you're wondering why there's wire on the back of that table there, that's so she can't eat the wall. If you look in the far corner, you can actually see that she started eating the wall because she's a horrible rabbit. But, that's the way it goes when you got bunnies. Hi, baby. She's like, don't film me, Mom. She's hiding from the camera. But yeah, she chewed on the wall, so we put wire back there so she'd stop chewing on the drywall. She's just hiding now. She's like, you can't see me. Anyway, so we do have to be concerned about giving them enough space. Little tiny cages, not enough space. The minimum amount of space your rabbit should have if you're housing it indoors is 4x4. That's 4 feet by 4 feet. So that's a pretty big area. That's 16 square feet. You could adjust that a little bit. So you could have a longer run, like an 8-foot run by 2, and that's fine. But you really should aim for, at the very least, 2 square feet per pound of bunny. So she's a 2-pound bunny. She should have at least 8 square feet of space. They need to be able to stand up on their hind legs and reach up to the sky because it's good for them. And they need to be able to jump. All right, they have to be able to make long jumps because it's important for them. It's important for their health, for their mental health, for their physical health, for their overall well-being. You want them to be able to move. Rabbits are designed to move. They're not designed to sit in a tiny little cage all day. So she's free roam. You don't necessarily have to free roam. Okay, this girl free roams. Nobody tells Gemini what to do, even if she's ripping things up. She's currently ripping up a blanket over there. So, you don't tell Gemini what to do. But you don't have to free roam. You do need an appropriate enclosure. So you could have something like this cage. If you attached an X pen to it, a nice big X pen, and used that cage only as a home base and not as a place to stick your rabbit 100% of the time. So if you put an X pen on the front of the cage, you could easily, very easily actually, have an X pen on the outside, leave the door open, and that is a perfectly acceptable enclosure for your rabbit as long as it's big enough. There's a lot of different kind of cube solutions. They used to be used as storage cubes, these wire grated storage cubes. I'll try and put a picture up. But those used to be used as storage cubes. These days they're sold as animal enclosures because you can use those to create your customized rabbit enclosure. What you don't want to do is shove them in a tiny little cage where they can't move and they can't be rabbits. They do need to be able to be rabbits. So think of them like a cat, but they chew. So when you house rabbits indoors, you also have to be aware of the chewing situation. So she chewed on that wall back there. You can see right there is chewing on the wall. She's a bad bunny. So I put wire to protect the wall. Eventually I'll fix the wall when I'm sure she can't get to it. You also notice there's no trim on the back of that wall. There's no trim over there because she ate it. So I took the trim off. I will replace the trim. I just haven't done it yet, but I will. So are rabbits a little bit destructive? Yeah. And when you first get a rabbit, you're going to be surprised at what they chew. You're going to chew your litter box now because you're such a bad bunny. But she's an amazing bunny and I love her and I wouldn't trade her for the world. She is my world. But they chew. So not only do you have to house your rabbits appropriately, make sure they have enough space, but if you're inside, you're going to have to watch what they can chew on. They will chew the corner of your bed. They will crawl under your bed and eat the underside of your box spring. They will chew cords like there's no tomorrow. Chewing cords is Gemini's favorite pastime. It is. Don't look at me like that. You love chewing cords. Yeah. We call it spicy hay. It's horrible. She's a terrible bunny. But I love her. So yeah, we call cords spicy hay. And it's not good to chew on live cords, but she'll do it if you let her. She's horrible for chewing on cords. So that's why I have these X pens. Because you see, there's cords on the other side. There are cords on the other side of this X pen. She could go over there and eat those cords if I didn't have the X pen. Technically, she could just jump on the bed and jump down there, but, that's a whole different problem. But it keeps her out of the immediate area where there are cords. Same with the X pen idea on this side, because my desk is over there, and the heater's over there, and I don't want her chewing the cord to the baseboard heaters either. So I use X pens to protect stuff, and I give her free roam. You can do it the other way around. You absolutely can. So you can contain your rabbit inside the X pen to protect your stuff. Absolutely. You just need to make sure they have enough space. I am going to say that over and over again when I'm talking about rabbits. They need space. They need to be able to run. They need to be able to jump. They need to be able to enjoy being rabbits. So make sure you give them enough space. Yes, they'll need a litter box if you want them to run around. Almost all rabbits can be litter trained. Almost all of them. I have never had one that couldn't be litter trained. Some take a little more work, and if you have an unfixed male, you might have a harder time potty training that particular rabbit. But they can be. I did a video on litter training rabbits. I will link to that one in the description because it really does have a lot to do with housing your rabbits indoors. So I will link to that video so you can take a look, see how we potty train our bunnies. I've never had an indoor bunny that I couldn't potty train. Even my unfixed male Capricorn, who's out in the hallway right now, I can hear him walking around. But even him, he's unfixed, and yet he is still potty trained. It is entirely possible to potty train your bunnies. Okay, it's important that you potty train your bunnies if you're going to have them inside, because I'm sitting right here. I'm right near her litter box, and it doesn't smell. I changed it maybe 3 days ago, so I mean I changed it recently, but not right now. And it doesn't smell. I'm sitting here just a couple of feet away from her litter box, and it doesn't smell. It can't smell because my bed is right in this room. So if it smelled, I would be driven out of my own bedroom. So housing them, you have to give them enough space. You have to provide them a litter box, and you have to make sure they're potty trained. You also have to make sure they have things for enrichment. Enrichment can be as simple as a box filled with hay. They love that. Empty toilet paper tube. Shove some hay in that and they'll toss it around for hours. I've got things like little bells hung on the wall. Right? So I have that. There's a little wooden chew toy. I have toys everywhere for the rabbits, just like you would with a puppy. They need stuff to distract them. And she's grooming because she's trying to tell me right now that she doesn't want me to record her. She's under the table. That generally means she wants a little bit of private time. But too bad for you. I'm recording right now. So she's ignoring me. Rabbits do that a lot, by the way. They ignore you. They're like cats, only funnier. Anyway, that is about it for housing them indoors. Don't stick them in a cage. Make sure they have plenty of room to move, even if you don't free roam. I'm certainly not saying every rabbit needs to free roam, but they need the space. So if they have the space, they have enrichment, and they have a litter box, and they are litter trained, you're going to have a really interesting house bunny. They are full of personality, and housing them indoors is no more difficult than housing them outdoors. You can do either. Just make sure you know what you're doing and that you've provided the rabbit with what that rabbit needs for its specific habitat. So indoor rabbits and outdoor rabbits have different needs. She doesn't need to be kept warm. Not at all. Because she's not outside. But she also can't go outside. It's December. If I throw her outside now, she doesn't have that winter coat. That coat that you need to protect yourself from these temperatures. It's cold outside. So that is about it for us here at Andersen Acres. We will come back tomorrow, and I'm sure we will talk more about bunnies and their needs, because bunnies are fantastic and they're great to have on your little hobby farm, but they do take work. And it's not the 90s anymore. In the 90s, we shoved them in cages and we ignored them. We know so much more now. We know what they need. We know why they need it. And it's our job to give our animals, whether they're pets or livestock or anything else, it's our job to give our animals the environment they deserve and the environment they can thrive in. So, hopefully, you'll come back and we'll keep talking about bunnies, and we'll see you tomorrow.